Hello, seekers and skeptics, and welcome back to Spirit and Scrutiny podcast, where we explore the sacred with open hearts and discerning minds. I am your host, Flower. It's been a little over a week since the last episode, and I didn't want to rush this one. There were moments I thought about just sitting down and recording something. Anything to stay consistent, but that wouldn't have been honest, so I waited. And today I am ready to talk about something that feels really important, especially if you are someone who is learning to listen inward. Because once you start connecting to your intuition, the next question becomes, how do you know what you are feeling is actually true? We hear it a lot in spiritual spaces. Trust your intuition, listen to your inner knowing, and yes, there is truth in all of that. There is also something that doesn't get talked about enough, because not everything we feel is intuition. Sometimes what feels like intuition is really just fear, desire, or projection. And the hardest part is those things can feel just as real. Sometimes they feel even stronger than intuition itself. There have been moments in my life where I felt something so strongly. It felt undeniable. Like my body was forcefully pulling me in a direction. There was a kind of certainty in it, a feeling of, yes, this is it. And I told myself, this is intuition. This is divine guidance. But if I'm being honest, there was also anxiety underneath of it, a kind of urgency, a need for it to be right, a feeling that I had to act on it. And I didn't question that at the time because it all felt so real. It wasn't until later, when things didn't unfold the way that I had expected, I sat down with something uncomfortable. That what I was calling intuition might have actually been a part of me trying to feel safe, trying to find certainty, trying to avoid something I did not want to feel. And that shifted something for me, because it meant that I could not just trust the feelings that I was feeling. It meant that I had to understand them. When we begin opening up to spirituality, intuition, and the unseen, we become more sensitive, more aware, more receptive, and that openness is powerful. It also means that we can feel internal emotions, external energies, subconscious patterns, And without discernment, all of that can feel like divine guidance. And this is where we invite the body to come back in again. Because our bodies don't just feel things, they reflect what's really happening underneath. And there is something I've really come to understand in my own experience. Sometimes what we call intuition is actually a reaction to being dysregulated in the body. A tightness, a discomfort, a sense that something is off. And instead of sitting with that feeling, we try to interpret it immediately. We try to make it mean something. We tell ourselves, oh, this must be intuition telling me something isn't right. I can feel it. But sometimes it's just the body asking to be felt, not the emotion. And sometimes the body doesn't need a solution. It doesn't need to be acted upon. Sometimes the body just needs to be listened to. And that creates a very different response. Because instead of reacting outwardly, you turn inward. You breathe. You stay. You allow for the feeling to move through you as you witness it. And often, what felt urgent begins to soften. This is actually something I support people with in my one-to-one work. Through breath and postural awareness, we begin to understand what the body is communicating without immediately reacting to it. Because when you can slow down enough to feel your body clearly, discernment becomes a lot easier. You're not trying to figure everything out in your mind. You are learning how to listen from a more grounded place. So if that is something you are navigating, feeling a lot, but not always knowing what's intuition and what isn't, that is something we can explore together. I'll leave the link for my work with Bend with a Flower below in the comments. For me, the difference started to become clearer over time. Not perfect, but enough. And I noticed intuition feels quieter, steadier, less urgent. It does not rush me. It doesn't demand of me. It feels more like a grounded knowing than a reactive pull. Whereas fear or projection often feel urgent, charged, needing resolution. And it's been learning to sit in that difference that I have changed so much. My life has changed a lot with that realization. I think one of the most important parts of this path is learning how to come back to your own authority, not outsourcing your knowing, not blindly trusting every feeling, but building a relationship with yourself where you can feel something, question it, and stay present long enough to understand it more clearly. This isn't about getting it right all the time. You will misread things. Hell, I still do. But those moments are not failures. They're part of how discernment is built. And this is what I mean when I say that spirit and scrutiny belong together. Because intuition without discernment can lead us into confusion. But discernment without openness can close us off completely. And the balance is where things start to feel clearer. Let's take a moment to come back into our bodies. Inhale slowly through your nose, allowing your ribs to expand, your belly to soften. Exhaling gently. Inhaling again. Expanding. Softening. Exhaling. Letting it all go. Just noticing what is here without needing to label it right away. I want to leave you with this. Have you ever followed something that felt like intuition and later realized that it wasn't? And what did that teach you about how you listen now? Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to Spirit and Scrutiny podcast. Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep asking the questions that bring you closer to truth.